I'm going to show you what I do to incorporate these formations into the background board. So this piece here, I've already made the rock. I've glued it to the background, pegged it on with the skewers. I'm just going to snip them off so we can get some access to it. And I've got my hot knife warmed up. So what I aim to do is sort of follow this rock formation into the background, so the background becomes part of this rock. So just sort of get in. It's a bit difficult to film and do it, but yeah. So just sort of take a bit out of the background, so follow the rock round so the rock becomes part of the background, and just create that same sort of rock formation up at the top of the rock. So follow the cuts that you've already made. Sorry, the video on this is going to be quite poor because I can't really do both at the same time. Maybe easier if I go underneath. But yeah, just sort of follow that rock formation round so it becomes part of the background as well. And then I'm using my flame to just sort of rough that up again above it, so it just becomes a little bit more textured and just becomes one and the same thing. Let's see if we can focus on this one down here that I've already done. And this is one that I did earlier. Yeah, that's probably a good angle actually. You can see this rock here, it continues on through. It's a bit difficult to see while it's all white with this polystyrene, but once I get a coating on it, it'll become a bit more apparent. Right, so from here I'm just going to go on and cut every rock formation, glue some of them on, leave some of them to take apart. Just working my way through it now really. And some of them, like these pieces, I want to take these apart, coat them and then stick them onto the back. The back I want to coat as much as I can, but say that some of these smaller ones, these are already stuck in, so these will all be coated with the back. Bits of it are removable, so that bit there will be done separately. And what I shall do is just leave the top here and the bottom there so as it can fit back together when it's all coated up, and then I'll just fill these gaps so it all becomes one piece. I shall mark everything. I think you can see on this one I've actually marked the floor where this one wants to go. You can see on the back there that I've done the cutting around. That's where this rock formation, when I slide it back in, I should tidy up after myself really. And when I slide this in, I just line the lines up on the floor, and it all fits back together exactly where I want it, and the bits on the back will all make sense when it's all coated up. I'm going to mark everything that comes out. I'm going to mark with a number or a letter so I know exactly where it goes. And again, I should coat everything except the areas that are touching. So, you know, the join up there, there's a join just here, the join on this one. Yeah, anywhere that touches just won't be coated. Where they join to the back, so when this one comes off, I won't do the back, but I should just leave the seam to get in with the paintbrush. Reason is it's kind of difficult to get in there and make sure everything's covered. So if I do that off site, do it all separately, put it back in, it should make life easier for coating it, because I'll only have to actually coat around the edges. Right, so yeah, I'm just gonna get on and finish these rocks. I'm not far off now, to be honest. I've still got the ventilation to cut, so I've not done anything down in this corner. There's a vent going there. There'll be a vent going up this under the hide at the back there. I'm going to put another one here in the cool end, and then on the hot end which will be up there. I'll be putting 3, possibly 4 at that top up there. But I might coat it first, I might cut them first, I'm not sure yet. I'll decide when I get there. So carry on cutting these rocks and try and get this thing finished. So I've finished with all of my cutting on the rock formations. I've added a few bits around the top, up here, texturized all of the back. I like to, you know, build this at the top sort of in and out a little bit. You can't really see it at the minute, but when it's all coated and coloured, it makes a nice difference at the top. On this side here, this is the basking side. I've texturized this, all of this panel. I did that with the flame, just to add some texture, but nothing too deep. I don't want them to be able to climb up that. So I want texture just to be texturized, but not that it's actually interactive as such, so they can't climb up it. So yeah, just to add a bit. I'm going to end up cutting a little bit down this side as well, I think, just to add a bit more interest on that side. The only bit I haven't done yet with texture is this back panel here. Because all of the, if you notice on all of the rocks, they've all kind of got an angle in this kind of direction on. They're all the same. So to keep it uniform and looking right, I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to do that with the flame, the same as the other side of this one on the basking side. But if I put the flame on, the flame goes straight up. So I need to take that out and turn it on an angle, and then I'll put my texture on that. I'll add a bit of texture across the top as well. On the, see if we can get up that basking side. There's a little bit of interest up there. Not quite as much as on the other sides, but so I'm going to take that out and do that. I'm going to have to drill some vents up at this end. I'll get it coated first and then deal with those. So now it's just a case of taking it apart and taking it out. There isn't really a hard and fast way on this one. This is where I've said all along, it's not a linear process. It kind of happens as it happens. I can't take that end panel out because of the formations here. Certain bits of it, like this base one here, is freestanding, so I'll coat that separately. But some of the back pieces have actually, you know, that one's freestanding. But some of these smaller pieces I've actually glued to the back already, so I shall coat those as one piece with the back. But the smaller pieces I shall be deconstructing and taking it apart, just making sure I can get it all back in once it's coated. All of these pieces, these are all loose as well. I'll be coating those, getting a couple of coats on, but not across the back, and then putting it together and doing the seams, you know, underneath and whatever. But yeah, so it's not a linear process. It's just a case of build it as you go, but do as much as I can outside of the viv, because it's just easier to deal with and to get round and get in every nook and cranny. You know, you can't see up the back, and there's always bits you're going to miss if you're trying to do it in situ. So by taking it out, it allows me to turn it round, put my head on different angles, turn it upside down, turn it, you know, always round, just to make life easier to get at everything. Right, something else I've done is I'll show you on this piece. So this piece here I've marked green. I've just put, well, it's just green because that's the pen I've got, but the idea is that I'm not going to coat that. I'm going to coat almost to it, and then on the back I've marked here that I'm not going to coat that either, because when that piece goes back in, I want to be able to get some adhesive on that and then coat on the seam. So yeah, anywhere that I've marked green, I'm not gonna coat. I've done the same. There's a few places up on this piece here, for example, that bit's not coated. The piece that joins that is this one. So yeah, bits that's going to go together like that. So yeah, I'm not coating those because I want to put them together, then coat them afterwards. What else have we got? I'm going to mark these up as well. I'll mark them with a number. So I'll put number 1 on that one, number 1 on that, so I know which way they go. I'll also mark which way's up, because once it's all taken apart, it's going to be difficult to remember where everything goes. What else have I done since the last clip? That one there. Actually, I was putting that one in the wrong way. Across here, I've put some skewers. I don't know if you can see those. Across there. And that's to add a bit of strength, because this one is quite thin at this point, and it was quite flexible. Adding the skewers has just added a bit more strength, and when we get that coated with the tile adhesive, it will all be a lot stronger. And because that one goes in there like that, there's no support at the front. There's nothing to hold it up. So I want as much support in that as I can get. I will be putting skewers through the back again as well, you know, just to hold everything in place before I coat it, and again add more strength. And I'll leave that there, then I'll get on with coating this. Might be a while before I come back with another clip. Yeah, it's quite a lot to do. Yeah, well, actually I'm gonna cut this back panel. That's what I was going to say. I'm going to cut this back panel down into a couple of pieces, so it's easier to get out and easier to get in. Yeah, right, I'll crack on, get coating on this, and yeah, come back when we're somewhere near putting it together a bit. Well, I've taken it all apart, and yeah, there's quite a bit to paint. It may take me quite a while, this one. Anyway, I'll show you what I've done with these. This is the back. You can probably see it better now. I've got some good light, and it's laying down flat. So the pieces that I stuck on, some of the bits like these are just some small pieces stuck on, but then I've cut into the back. So I've used the thickness of the backing material to kind of add detail. So it just sort of gives it more depth without actually adding more depth. We're putting an inch on there, so we've already lost an inch of thickness, an inch of internal space in there anyway. So if I can kind of use that space by chopping into it, you just sort of win a little bit. I mean, these pieces here, like this one and this, these are only the standard inch thickness, but by adding that depth, it kind of all of a sudden becomes a 2 inch kind of detail rather than a small 1 inch detail. So just adds a bit more interest and a bit more depth. Now if you look across the top, that's probably a good example there actually. So yeah, you've got the piece. This piece here is the addition. This is the backing piece. But by cutting it into the back, it kind of makes that rock that I've added kind of bigger, and wins space by using the bits at the back. See if we can find another example. There's another example. I'm locked in the garage again because the weather's shocking. But there you go. There's another kind of example of how it just adds more depth to each piece you add by using the thickness of the backing. That's the basking zone that I've burnt that up with the flame again. So yeah, it's just thought I'd show you that because it kind of became more apparent. Yeah, there's another example. That's right at the top. So these are the pieces that I've added at the top, but by adding a piece and then cutting into the back again, it just gives you more definition, a deeper relief. Yeah, it works for me. Well, we'll get on and paint it, and it may look better in when we're painted. There's another good example. That's just a small piece that was added on, but it's been cut into the back, so it gives you just gives you deeper ridges. I like to cut deep ridges because when you coat it, the ridges kind of disappear a little bit, and I found with previous builds, if you don't cut them deep enough, then they completely disappear, and all of a sudden it becomes, you know, like round rocks almost, rather than craggy rocks. And I want craggy bits for them to dig their nails in to climb up and stuff. They've got quite claws on them. This is chuck wallace, this one, but they've got claws on them. They love to scrabble up stuff. So I like to try and leave some craggy bits for them to grasp hold of. Yeah, right, I'm going to get on and paint it. And maybe some time. I've coated everything now. I've all had 4 or 5 coats. Some bits have had 5 because I had some mixed up. Others have got 4 coats on. It's nice and firm now. I'm going to install them. I've took it all out of the Viv. The Viv's over here. I'm going to install them, but first I need to straighten the edges up. So along here, along this edge, this is where the join's going to be, but it overhangs. Let me get that sideways. It overhangs, so it probably won't fit where it fitted before. So I'm just going to take a little bit of sandpaper. This is 80 grit, I think. 80 grit sandpaper. And just take them back so they're back flush where they should have been. Also gives you a chance to see just how thick your coating is. And this is one that I've already done. This is the side panel, but if you can see across here, you can see just how thick your coating is that you've got on. I mean, they're all good and solid now. But yeah, that'll now go flat when I install it. Give us a nice sharp finish. Something else I've done since while I was coating, waiting for things to dry, is I've given the base a quick varnish. Anywhere that's not going to be that's going to be timber, I've sealed up with. This is just trade interior varnish. This one's Screwfix. It's just an acrylic varnish, non-toxic, low VOC content. Yeah, you wait to tell if it's acrylic is if it says clean up with water. See if we can see that. Drying time after use. Clean immediately in soapy water. So if it's water based, it should be acrylic based. I've done the base. I've done the back of the front rail just here, and I've done down this side. I actually drew around it with a pencil. I don't know if we can get that. I drew around it with a pencil, so I've made sure that anywhere that's going to be timber on show has had a couple of coats of the varnish. That'll just make it easier to wipe off any excess, because I'm going to put another grout on top of this for colouring, but it'll just give us a chance to wipe off any excess. I've done down this side as well. I'm not worried about the outside at the minute. I'm going to deal with that when I get there. But yeah, I'm going to get these sanded up and then install them. Yeah, that's the back wall there. I actually cut that in half to make it easy to get in and out, because it weighs quite a bit. Right, I'll get on and sand these and get them installed. I've sanded all the edges. I've installed these bits on this left hand side. That's the top there. It's quite a nice clean edge. That's where I've sanded them, and I've wedged the bottom up. Remember back when we started, I left a gap at the bottom to allow them to get in easier. I shall get that filled with the same adhesive that I've been using for everything else. And what I have done first of all is to fit these dry, just to check that they fit, adjust them if needed. I did have to take a little bit off the back of this one to allow that one to go in nice and easy. Yeah, to stick it to the back, I'm just going to use the same instant grab, solvent free adhesive. Just going to put a good squirt all over it, a couple of strips. Like that, and then get it in position. So I've sanded all of these edges back as well. These are the formations. You might remember I marked all of these up with numbers. So this one's number 5. It's written on it somewhere, or I've sanded it off. But I've sanded all these back, ready to fit on the parts that I haven't grouted, tile adhesive. Again, it will just give us a nice flat area for them to sit on. So they're already glued up, ready to go on. I'm just going to stick that in position. So there you can see it's just, now it's polystyrene on polystyrene with the adhesive. It's not going to want to stay there. I have incorporated a little support shelf there, and if we can get that one up there, that's for the next shelf up. On this one, but it doesn't want to stay there, so you're going to need a bit of support somewhere. So this is just some scraps of the polystyrene. Just going to wedge that up, get it to stay where it's put. In fact, I'm not going to do that on camera. I'm going to support that and then come back and show you. So I've got this first one in, supported it up, put a couple of the skewers through it again, just a bit of mechanical holding, wedged it up at the bottom with some scrap bits of polystyrene. So now we've just got the gap down the backs of the places that I haven't put any adhesive on. So now we're just going to, once it's all in, we're going to get those filled, which will hold it itself, ready to take the take this support out from underneath. The skewers, I'm just going to cut them off and make sure that I get plenty of adhesive over the top of them, just to hide the sticks again. But again, I'm mixing up to fill this, so you know it's no biggie to just stick a bit on them. I may well just coat the whole thing again while I'm about it. I'm just going to crack on, get all these bits put in. If I can remember which way up they go, they should be, because they were all marked. Get this one put on the bottom, and then I'm going to have a look at this bit across the back here, because I want to do something similar there. This is why I've not coated this bit, is because I want to do something similar to what I've done at the top there, just to add a bit of detail rather than it being flat. So I'm going to cut a piece there. Again, I'll paint it when I'm painting these ones up, and I'm going to fill this crack at the bottom. Again, fill it with the adhesive when I've got it mixed up. Right, I'm going to crack on with this. Oh, I should say that's the join there. What I did with the back panel, I split it in two so it was easier to work with, so it didn't bend when I was working with it. Just made it easier to coat. So again, I've not filled. I've left it no adhesive. I've left it bare on that join. So again, we'll just get another 4 or 5 coats on it. It's pretty tough. But yeah, so I'll crack on, get them stuck up, and then we'll have a fill. Fill down that gap down there. Doesn't look very clever at the minute, but same on this end. That's the basking site. So looks okay, but I don't want any gap at all, so I'll get that filled. Yeah, no climbing at this end. It's just a straight flat wall really, so they can't climb. Oh yeah, anyway, I'll get on and glue them up and get a mix on. Well, I've got all the pieces in place. Everything's it's all glued. Some of it's got the odd skewering, just to add a bit of mechanical support in the meantime. I shall cover those with adhesive as I get there. A few little bits of scrap here and there just to support that up. Oh, there's another one there to cut off. What I've done across this piece here, these are 2 separate pieces. This is the weak point. You can see it's actually quite thin there. It's almost a single thickness. So what I've done is I've stuck the skewers. I've gone a couple through this way and a couple through, that way and that way, just to add a bit of extra strength. Once it's coated up, it'll be strong anyway, but just a bit of overkill, but better safe than sorry, I guess. I'll cut those off. Again, they'll all be covered in time. So yeah, that's that all put together. I think I'm happy with it. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Yeah, I'll get on and put a mix on, get this all coated up, another 4 coats on all of the joins, at least 4 coats, maybe 5, depending on how much. If I've got some left, I shall end up just rather than wasting anything that I've got in my tub that's already mixed, I shall just give everything another bit of a coat, really. And yeah, then we'll move on to trying to get some colour on it. But yeah, I'm quite happy with that. It looks quite rocky, nice. So I've got a quick coat on all of the joins, just one quick coat, sides. I'm going to leave that to go off now. It's going to be like the first coat, so I'm going to leave that overnight and not actually touch it till tomorrow. I've started to fill the bottom, the gap around the bottom. Obviously the wedges are still holding it up till the no nails goes off, so I'm going to keep that in until tomorrow, till it's all gone off. I filled that around the gap around the bottom with a filling knife. Once the stuff had started to go off in the bucket, I used it as it was going off. I've brushed it in with a paintbrush, but I'll take the packers out and finish the bits that aren't done tomorrow. Yeah, so leave it to dry.